Hey guys, it's Daniel. The following is a clip from my interview with Rolling Stones recording engineer Tapani Talo. If you want to see the full interview, it's linked below. Do you remember the recording process for the song, It's Only Rock and Roll, But I Like It?
It went on for a long time.
Hmm.
We did it in Munich. We did it in London. I wasn't happy.
Really?
And I was a second engineer there. I was sitting in the studio, and it was not going the right way. It just, for me, the song, like Ian Stewart said, it wasn't what he wanted it to be in the beginning.
Hmm.
It had more of the original song, Ian Stewart said, was a more, I'm just going to leave it to that, but he was moaning and groaning about it as much as I was.
Interesting. Were you familiar with the way it sounded originally?
No, because they started in Jamaica. I didn't get to have hands on the original tape.
So do you know why that particular song, as you're saying, took a long time to get down?
It had a certain start, and they couldn't get back to it.
Hmm.
That's the way I see it. It kind of got stuck a little bit.
Hmm.
I mean, it still came off, but it's not satisfaction.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're saying that you weren't necessarily happy with how it morphed, so to speak. But what did you think of the final version? Because it is considered one of the Stones' biggest songs. Are you not a fan of the final version?
No, it came out. It's just a little nuance that you don't go on the street and say it's only rock and roll. You won't sing it. I mean, all the other big songs are songs people can hum, they can sing it, they can do almost anything with it. And this one has a very junk, kind of like forced, a little bit forced beat in a sense.
Hmm. And Ian Stewart felt the same way about the song?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was the one who was really. I remember Ian Stewart was complaining about it. The It's Only Rock and Roll started as a great song, but it fell apart.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. He played me a couple of takes what it was like, and so there were some hit and misses, and that's one song. It's good in the radio, but it's not on the dance floor. It doesn't work.
So do you know why? I mean, considering Ian Stewart, who is such a key person within the circle of the Stones, he had such an adverse reaction to the evolution of the song. Do you know why Mick and Keith changed it so drastically?
No, that is an issue. It happened in a few songs where the magic doesn't stay in the focus in the right way. Every band has the same issue, and there's certain songs that just doesn't quite. I think certain songs you almost need to have some other musician to come in and kind of just freshen it up quickly, and that would give you a tool to see what's happening. But if you're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, you lose the perspective.
So you feel that that's what happened with this song? Is that it was just done too many times?
Yeah.
Interesting. So it wasn't like Mick and Keith were consciously trying to change it from how its original form was. It just kind of naturally morphed into what it became.
It just morphed that way. That's
interesting. Cool. And do you know what Mick and Keith's thoughts were on the song when it was finished? Did they feel the same way as Ian Stewart, or were they cool with it?
I think from Mick's point of view, and the vocals are strong, and it does carry the message. I can't place Keith's opinion on it. I think it's more of a Mick song.
Okay.
His vocals come strongly across, and it is. He's saying it correctly. It's the rest of the band that, to me, kind of didn't morph into that completely ideal space.
And so, I mean, were Mick and Keith? That's funny. I'm inventing people. Speaking of morphing, were Mick and Keith aware that Ian wasn't a fan of how it changed, or did it not really matter?
And Stu, he would give like this quiet. But he couldn't step between Keith and Mick. No. he would come towards the end of the song, put in the piano and all that stuff. But no, he couldn't come in and say, "Come on, guys, get it right."
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
And so he focused on things like technology, because, like, for instance, in the beginning in the studio, the mobile was not acoustically right.
Okay.
The bass sounded way too strong. And when I took material from the mobile into the regular studio, it felt like it was completely dried out. And that's part of the It's Only Rock and Roll. You can see at the time it felt very dry compared to the older songs. And that was only because in the mobile it had a full range. And so I said to Ian Stewart, and I said, I can't, if we don't change the acoustics, I'm not going to do any more recordings, because you feel like a fool. And we got the world's best guy in, and we fixed it. It was really, Ian Stewart was, in that sense, fantastic manager. If I said something, it got done. It was
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was Ian Stewart like? I mean, because I don't think a lot of people understand how important he was to the Stones. Like, what was he like to work with? What was he like as a person?
He was just as devoted as the band, and he knew what needed to be. First of all, you have to say, every time they had a live tour, he would get the best crew to make it happen. And he had that intelligence, and he knew the technicalities behind it, and knew how to control people. There was no fooling around.
Okay.
It was each time it would be technologically cutting edge. And then he could, at the same time, like if I had complaints, he would pick up the phone and find out in the world who's the best person to deal with it.
That's cool. That's cool.
So he would do that for the band, and he would do it for the mobile, and everything was. We only had like 2 people in the office, and Stu and 2 or maybe 3 girls, and it was run incredibly tight with the minimum cost, and there was no need for anything else. And like Stu said, he was so happy because I would never buy any meals that were more expensive than anything else. And because other people came in, they would go they go berserk because everything was free. And they just
That's funny. So I mean, a lot of people aren't aware that Ian Stewart he was one of the original members of the band, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Right. He was still the official all the way through, except it wasn't mentioned on the albums.
I mean, that's pretty selfless of him that he kind of stepped back to allow the band to go forward like that. Just in terms of his personality, what was he like as a person?
Fantastic. What's the English word? A mate.
Okay, yeah. That's cool. He's a bro, basically.
Yeah. There's just like I would say, like Charlie and Bill and Ian Stewart, they were like the chorus around Mick and Keef.
Oh, interesting way of looking at it. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a real, like, brothers, and then you have couple of your brothers are the kind of the stronger part, and then everybody else just pulls the same. Nobody's kicking each other in the wrong way. So.
I hear you.